Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as you all know, I'm fascinated by transformation stories and navigating through uncharted digital waters towards an uncertain future. And that's one of the reasons I enjoyed talking to Citrix recently about the future of work. But off the back of that, I've recently discovered another company called HoneyBook, who also wanted to come on the podcast and talk about the future of work too. And as I always say at the beginning and the end of every episode, there's always an open invite for everybody that wants to come on here. Because I say that, there is a 6-week waiting list a lot of the time, but at least everybody gets a chance to tell their story. So in a nutshell, HoneyBook believes work has changed in the US and indeed all over the world because traditional roles at corporations have been given way to small and medium-sized businesses. So we're now seeing the rise of a new class of solopreneurs and freelancers driven by millennials and Gen Z's desire to prioritise flexibility and independence into their careers. But all I will say about that is, what about us Gen Xers? I mean, maybe I'm just young at heart, but that's the path that I chose too. So today's guest is Oz, and he has an interesting personal experience that spurred the company's mission. But I don't want to reveal any spoilers. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to San Francisco so we can speak with Oz, co-founder and CEO at HoneyBook. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Oz. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Hey, thank you. And I'm glad to be here. So my name is Oz. Started HoneyBook together with my wife, Nama. Both of us born and raised in Israel, in the countryside between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And we come from families of entrepreneurs, small business owners. And we had that urge to solve pains, and especially when we became these small business owners. And we were lucky enough to be introduced to someone that pulled us to California to start this company, and that's how we got to this point.
Excellent. Well, on this daily tech podcast, every day I speak to somebody in a different country, and it could be anywhere in the world, and they always talk about how technology is transforming their world, or they're leveraging technology to transform an entire industry even. But I'm always fascinated by the story behind the success of any company. So can you tell me a little bit more about your fantastic personal experience that spurred the company's mission and how the HoneyBook platform was built out of your first-hand experience of just trying to start a bar?
So you know what's interesting, Neil? There's things that you only realize in hindsight. And if you asked me 6 years ago why we started a company, my answer will be pretty different from what I understand today. And I think today is actually more accurate. So yes, back then I was running a bar, and Nama and I really liked serving customers. And for the first time that we were served by other small businesses, which was our wedding, we were surprised of how they were so outdated with their tools, and the fact that we needed to write a check and pay them by cash even, and that just did not make any sense to us. And that's the story that I would tell you 6 years ago. However, today when I look back, I realize something slightly different. I realized that my father was not only a small business owner, but he was actually a solopreneur. And a solopreneur is another subgroup that the solopreneur works alone, sometimes gets help from another couple or a few employees. But what's really interesting is the solopreneur's house and environment. And as a kid, our house had invoices and agreements and proposals everywhere. It was in the bedroom, it was in the living room, it was on the dining table, it was in the car. And what's interesting is that everything that we do today is solving this. Like if my father today was using HoneyBook and operating his business, We had none of these things at home. He would never need to chase payments. He would never need to kind of think about how he follows up with a lead and a customer. And so in a way, we were solving that without even knowing. And it's just in a recent visit in Israel that we realized that. We're sitting in his car, and suddenly all these invoices dropped from above. And I looked at Naaman and I said, wow, that's incredible. If my father used HoneyBook, this would not happen. And suddenly we both realized we were solving that. So I feel like that it was something embedded that we didn't even know. We had this voice inside of us. And that's the real reason why we started HoneyBook.
And it's fascinating to hear as well, because listening to your story there, it reminded me a lot of this Steve Jobs quote, that you can't connect the dots moving forward. It's not till you look back. All the dots come together, don't they, when you look back?
And I remember that speech, but I did not connect the dots to this story. So now I have another great anecdote.
So I invited you on the podcast today to talk about the future of work and the effects that technology is having on the employment landscape. But can you just set the scene and tell me a little bit more about how you believe that work has changed and how traditional roles at corporations have given way to small and medium-sized businesses? Because it's a trend that I'm seeing, and obviously you're seeing it more and more too.
So yes, I think a lot of things are changing. Let's start with what is not changing. What did not change? And I think it's the urge to express ourselves. And a lot of it is through work, right? Work is beyond being to our families. Work is our way to express our identity. And some of us are more fortunate to be able to do that. And some of us are stuck in things we don't want to do, right? But what we're seeing today, and maybe that is changing, is that more and more people are getting the opportunity to do what they want to do. And we hope that every person in this world will be able to do what they want to do. It's not the case today, of course. But we see more and more people that want to do it. And we see that technology allows more and more people to start businesses. It's easier to start a business today. And I think that's a fact. It's easier to start. The problem is it's not always easy to sustain. It's actually pretty hard. If we will go all the way back, 100 years ago, plus actually, Fiddler on the Roof. Do you remember the movie?
If I was a rich man.
Exactly. And Tivia, the milking guy there, he had his business, right? He had his cow. He didn't need to think about how to promote himself. Everybody knew they're going to buy milk from him. And he was like, he thought about his cow, he thought about his daughters and how he's going to provide for them. And he did not have invoices and agreements and all these great things. So again, when you look back, it was kind of more simple. And today, there's competition coming from everywhere. But even more so, as technology is supposed to help us and be our best friend, many times it just adds more work. And now if I'm a small business, I need to sustain a profile on Yelp, on Instagram, on Facebook, and I invest my time on a Facebook page, but suddenly no one cares about that anymore. And now I need to learn how to operate Instagram. I need to learn how to publish stories, or my Twitter account. And that is something that we're noticing that, yes, it's easier to get off the ground, but it's just so hard to sustain. And our fear is that as we look at all these great developments, the question is, are all companies really thinking about the interests of the small business? And I'm afraid that that's not always the case. And one of the things that we talk about here, the rise of the gig economy, that's something we're hearing a lot lately. And here at HoneyBook, we're saying that we're actually anti-gig economy. We are not envisioning a world where people are going to do things that robots are going to replace them the next day. We're not into a world of companies that are promising flexibility. Take an example of Uber, right? It's a great consumer experience. A lot of value is being created. At the same time, there's a promise to the drivers. You can do everything on your terms and whenever you want, flexibility. But is anyone imagining these drivers driving an Uber car in 10 or 20 years? No one is, and especially Uber is not imagining that. They're actually saying publicly that they're going to be replaced by, autonomous vehicles. So how come all these people are investing so much time in perfecting their Uber drive, right?
Yeah.
We're not into that. That is not the way we see it. This is not a small business. It's a gig. And we are interested in small businesses that want to get off the ground, sustain their business, grow their business, express their identity, have their very unique identity. And I feel this is our biggest challenge. It's our vision, our mission, but the biggest challenge that we have, because while with technology we can automate so many things, but somehow in the dynamic of automation, you create a lot of standardization of these businesses and they become less unique. And therefore we have this challenge to automate and help them customize and express their brand at exactly the same time. So I think back to your question, I think technology is providing a lot of value, but at the same time, we need to be aware of the challenges and the responsibility that we have. We can go into privacy, which is a big issue right now, and how companies need to be very responsible at the same time and think about what is good for these small businesses as opposed to what is good for the companies.
So for people just tuning in and hearing about HoneyBook for the first time, just to help them visualize the kind of thing that you're doing here and the difference that you're making, can you tell me a little bit more about what it is about your technology that is unique for your users, and also what kind of problems you're solving for freelancers?
So the thing that we solve, we're looking at small businesses and we're saying there's the reason you became a small business, which is your craft, your creativity, and the fact that you wanted the freedom to do what you want to do, what you love on your own terms. And we learned that people, that's not the reality once they become a small business. The reality is they need to communicate with leads that land on their website immediately. Doesn't matter what they're doing, they need to respond, because if they don't respond, they will lose the deal. So the very first thing we do for them is help them capture these leads, no matter where they come from, if it's from a Facebook page to a website to a directory, and respond as fast as possible in an automated fashion, even if they're on vacation, but being able to just end the background, have their business being operated. After they respond, we help them to manage all the communication between them and these potential clients until they become clients. So they use HoneyBook to send a brochure with all of their services. They use HoneyBook to send a proposal. It's very specific. Here's what I'm going to do for you, and here's how much it's going to cost. They use HoneyBook to send an agreement to outline, the details of the project they're about to perform. They use HoneyBook to send an invoice and to accept online payments. And we look at that process, the magical process of a business that is about to shake hands with a client and form this relationship. And in that world, we're trying to create a lot of value. And I'll go back to help them automate that process while keeping their uniqueness, their brand, their identity.
And it's easy to see why it's so successful at the moment, because this new flexibility that it's bringing is encouraging more and more people to go this way. But what do you think is driving the rise of this new class of solopreneurs and freelancers? What is behind it, do you think?
So on the one hand, I would say that, every generation was entrepreneurial. Our parents were entrepreneurial, our grandparents. We are, and the next generation is. But we are seeing that as other generations not always had the luxury, the opportunity to start their own businesses. We're living at times that people allow themselves to do so. At the same time, or I would say more people allow themselves to do so. At the same time, we're seeing a generation, Gen Y, the millennials, that wants flexibility and wants the freedom. They want to be their own bosses. We're seeing in the corporate world that people are they like to switch jobs. They like to develop, to sometimes, many times, change profession. More than we saw with a generation, generations in the past. For my parents were totally fine with sustaining their exact. My mother is a teacher, and she never wanted anything but to teach and be in the same school from the first day to the last day of her career. But for many of my friends in this generation, they can't imagine themselves doing that, right? They want to express themselves more. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing the generation after that, Gen Z, people that were born after 95. We are hearing from them some of the same, but we're hearing something else too. We're hearing that they want to follow purpose and passion and their own passion. They want whatever they're doing to mean something, and I think we all wanted to always, but it seems like they feel like in today's world, they can allow themselves to do that. So we're seeing more and more people choosing to build businesses, to freelance, to do a couple of things at once, to work, in different times. Some people prefer to work at night. Some people prefer to work at day. Some people want to work, from a city. Some people want to live in the countryside and work remote. Some people want to work from an island, from a plane, or from a boat. We see all of that, and I feel like that's probably the shift.
Fantastic. And something else that caught my eye was HoneyBook recently revealed a report that examined the vacation habits of freelancers in the US. Hey, can you expand on the findings in there? And was there anything that surprised you?
So it's interesting. And that is exactly just what we just talked about, which is freedom. People joined this world of being a freelancer and a small business owner for freedom. They want to do it on their own terms. They want to do it from anywhere. However, what they're finding out is that it's not as simple. And in the real, and after they started their business, they're so obligated to their business. They're so committed to their customers. And now they can't take a break. They're on vacation with their family, but suddenly a lead came in, or a need from one of their clients that is requesting some very specific information. They don't always have a team in place to respond. And if they don't respond, no one does. And, they want to serve their clients in the best way possible. Right.
Yeah.
So, we decided let's check into this and see what we hear from the market and from many small businesses possible. And what we found out was that 92% of these freelancers and small business owners reported that they are working or doing some work while they're on vacation. And that is crazy, because when one of our team members at HoneyBook goes on vacation, we will do everything we can to not call them, not send them a text, not send them a Slack, right? And to make sure they actually are on vacation. And yet small business cannot allow that themselves to be. So that was the first finding that we found. But another thing that we found, and allow me, to take some pride here, is that 65% of HoneyBook members said that they feel more comfortable to take vacation knowing, their business is run in the back end, right? In the background. And when we heard that, I think it was one of these moments, that you look at the results. You obviously want to make sure there's no selection bias there. But after you validate that, you understand that you're starting to create the value you envisioned. We are probably 1% of the journey is behind us. We still have 99% to go, but it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, and so much of what you said there really resonated with me, because I left the corporate IT life behind to go in search of freedom and flexibility. And very much I find that wherever I am now, that one of the beauties, of course, is being able to work from anywhere, is you end up working from anywhere. And as a freelancer, I'm always online and I don't have an off button. But I'm curious, for that very reason, do your findings reveal anything about burnout culture in freelance world? Is that a thing?
I believe that burnout in general is a thing for everybody, right? In the corporate world and for small businesses, we are all connected all the time. I think we heard in the past, many people were talking about work-life balance and their desire to get that balance. But in today's world, it's just so hard. So I think we are seeing burnout all around.
Yeah.
Having said that, we are seeing that as one of our responsibilities and obligations to our members. We have to find a way to help them balance. And, there are things I will mention that I have no idea how we're going to solve. But I know that we want to, and we're going to put our best minds to try to solve them. I'll give you an example. When one of our team members gives birth, right? We do everything that we can for that team member to have maternity or paternity leave, right? And we do everything we can to not disturb them while they attend such a significant moment in their life. And we found that, they always come back afterwards kind of fresh with a much more interesting perspective on life. So we gain out of it, right? But then we look at our members and they don't get that opportunity. These small business owners, and many of our members are women. More than 70% of our members are women. And they can't take the very basic thing of a maternity break. And I don't know how to solve that. But I know that we want to, and we're going to find ways to do it. It's either going to be with technology, it's either going to be with a community support from other small businesses, it's either going to be with some kind of change of regulations, but we're going to try to do everything we can to solve that, among many other things.
It's amazing, and it's easy to see why you're so successful. And I think just a couple of months ago, I read that HoneyBook raised $28 million in Series C equity, which was led by City Ventures. And I think that brings your total funding to around $72 million. And that funding come as HoneyBook surpassed $1 billion in business booked on its platform, and also reached 150% growth of its customer base year over year, which is absolutely phenomenal. And last year, HoneyBook's members created more than 1 million new projects on the platform too. I mean, but how do you plan to use the proceeds of this fundraising, and how's it going to help you take things to the next level too?
So first of all, I'll tell you this. The first thing I'm going to do is try to now team and go and pitch instead of me doing it, because you can do a much better job. So that's the first thing we're going to do is that money. But then after we do that, if there's anything left in the bank account, we are going to invest a lot in product and expansion. So here's what we're finding. I talked about things that we want to solve that we have no idea how to solve. There's a lot of research and development that is involved to do that. One of the things that we're finding is that there's a lot to solve. Every time we talk to our members, they tell us, I have this pain and that pain, and I'm investing, our members are investing their business with us. So we already have you talked about $1 billion of transactions. We see this as $1 billion of trust. And all of that is happening through our pipes. And their agreements are stored with us, and their proposals are stored with us. So they're meeting us on a daily basis. They're trusting us. And because of that, we have their, again, responsibility to say, we are here and positioned to solve more of your pains, right? For example, if you need capital, and we're the only ones that have visibility into the future of your business, and we can underwrite that, we can look at that and give you capital against that. No one else can, right? No one else. You as a small business, you didn't invest that with anyone else. So how could we, HoneyBook, allow ourselves to not do it, right? And that puts a lot of pressure on us to hire engineers and hire designers to try to figure out how we solve that very specific pain. So when you think about our team, like everybody around are dedicated to that, but we need more people. And every time we look at another opportunity like that, like we need more people, we need more engineers, we need more designers, we need more people on the marketing team, communicating the benefits and educating small businesses of the solution that we can provide for them. So a lot of the proceeds are going to go against research and development and more product and more value. And then we're getting quite a bit of inbound coming globally. And we are looking at these small business owners, and they want to join us. They want us to serve them. They want us to serve them in Australia. They want us to serve them in the UK. They want us to serve them in Europe. And we are not there right now. And I want to go back to sitting in my father's car and saying to Naama, if he used HoneyBook, he wouldn't have this pain. But we're not operating in Israel. So for the ability to do that, to go global, we will need to invest more money on doing that. So some of the money is going to go there too. So again, back to like in the one-liner, it's going to go to more product, more value, and global expansion, and expansion in general.
And the pitch guy. Don't forget the pitch guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. If anything is left, of course.
And if we look even further into the future, is there anything particular that excites you about opportunities ahead for HoneyBook? I would imagine you've got a head full of ideas, and you probably can't share too many of them with me here on the podcast now, but is there anything that excites you?
So I'll say that I will actually be glad to share anything that we're seeing, because although it's always great to be the one solving it and winning the grand prize, in the end of the day, the more important thing, Neil, is that these pains are addressed. So if another company will do it, fantastic, right? One of the things we believe, community over competition around here. But on top of my mind, like if I think about things, cash flow is such a pain for small businesses. How can we address that pain from the income to the expenses? How can we help businesses that one month have an income and the other months don't have an income? How can we smoothen that out? And go back to vacations. How can we smoothen that out? Make sure they have an income while they're on vacation, while they're on maternity leave. So anything to do in the world of their financials, we would want to help them as much as we can. We talked before about all these outlets and destinations of which they get their leads from. How can we help them make sense of all of these, of their Facebook page and their Instagram and their website and directories? How can we help them understand where is the best place to invest their time and their money? How can we help them, if we're talking about understanding things, is to get these insights of how to price themselves, right? All these things, it's hard for us at HoneyBook with our resources to know for ourselves, let alone for a small business. So there's just so much opportunity there, and I hope we'll make the right decisions on what to do first, and I hope we'll be able to solve them as soon as possible.
Well, I wish you the best of luck on that journey moving forward. But before I do let you go, there's going to be a lot of people listening want to find out more information about the kind of work that you're doing and maybe follow you on social channels and all that. So if anyone listening, can you point them in the direction of the HoneyBook website and your social channels, and equally the best way of reaching out to your team and contacting your team?
So we try to be, everywhere that matters. So first of all, honeybook.com. Just log into our site, read through our blog. We have a great community called the Rising Tide Community. And there's a lot of information that we would love to share with anybody and things that we learn. And in addition, our Facebook page, our Instagram, we tweet and we write on Medium whenever we can. So anywhere that matters.
Excellent. Well, I'll add all those links to the blog post that will accompany this podcast. I've absolutely loved chatting with you today and hearing your story. I mean, yes, your mission to help solopreneurs and freelancers succeeding doing everything that they love, but by providing them with the right tools to streamline all aspects of their business process is fantastic. But it's the story behind it that really brings it all to life. And like you say, it's not till you look back and join up the dots and see where it all originated from. And that's exactly what you're doing now. It's fantastic and quite poetic at the same time. So a big thank you for taking the time to share that story with me today, Oz.
Thank you very much, Neil. And I'm going to get you to Tel Aviv. It's going to happen.
I just love stories like this, and how HoneyBook's platform was built out of Oz's first-hand experience of trying to start a bar. And I love how he grew frustrated with the inefficiencies of his job, and 80% of his time, 4 out of 5 business days, was devoted to mundane admin tasks that he didn't enjoy and just wasn't particularly good at. And it was that moment that it seemed to strike him that small business owners and creative freelancers were struggling with the same thing, and that's why he launched HoneyBook, to automate the less fun parts of the job and keep room for high-level creativity. And I must admit, since I left the corporate world behind and set up my own business, one of the things that always held me back and stopped me from doing it was concerns around accountancy, bookmaking, taxes, all those things. And I don't know if I've just been fortunate in finding the best accountant in the world, but they enable me to just put in all my accounts, manage it through an accounting software online. I just put in invoices and things like that. And then they take care of everything else. Because I'm a writer and podcast guy. I'm not a numbers guy, and I just hate anything to do with that. So as long as I don't go crazy and spending all my money before it comes in and I've got enough to pay the tax man, it's all good. But, somebody else can take care of all that for you. And in the case of HoneyBook, the technology is unique for their users because they offer an end-to-end management platform that combines fintech with business management. Because other fintech companies typically focus on the payment slice of the business relationship. But over to you, because I don't want you to just passively listen to these stories. I want them to inspire you to make a few tweaks in your life too and see what it could lead to. And after nearly 1,000 interviews on this tech podcast, the common theme amongst most of the leaders on there are typically they've encountered a problem and thought to themselves, I'm going to fix that problem. And it really is as simple as that. It's not even about technology. Technology comes later when you found that problem to fix. And yes, I know 5-10 years ago, there was a bit of a trend where people were going to technology to try and fix a problem that doesn't exist. But most people I speak with, in fact, the vast majority of people that I speak to, they encounter the problem first and then look for the suitable technology to fix it. But let me know your thoughts. I'm just rambling into a microphone here. If you'd like to share your story, there is always an open invite for you on this podcast. There might be a bit of a wait, but if I can get you on here, I will. So please, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk. Tweet me at Neil C. Hughes or any of the social channels. If you do follow me though, all I ask is you just send me a little hello and where you listen to the show. And although this is a tech podcast, I must admit I'm a sucker for a good story. And it almost feels like you learn and level up by listening to somebody else's experiences and everything that they've gone through. But hey, enough of me getting all over enthusiastic again. Before I get out of control, I'm going to get out of here. So a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.